But what is the cost of living in Idaho? What can I expect? So I wanted to kind of get into some of the things that people are going to ask the most about, some of the things that people pay in Idaho and also would pay in California. So I wanted to kind of go over some common bills and kind of say the differences from my experience from someone who used to live in Southern California. I moved to the city of Star in Idaho. So that's in Ada County, right on the edge of Canyon County. So I'm about as far away from Boise as you can get without being outside of the same county that Boise is in, which is called Ada. So this is hopefully going to give you an idea. So if you could like and subscribe to our channel, that helps us out tremendously. It gets us in front of more people. It gets our content out to you faster so you can get notified when we have new videos. We do a lot of real estate based videos. We do a lot of home improvement type videos. We do a lot of hands-on out in the field type stuff, drone stuff. If you stick around to the end of the video, we're going to get into the main differences in cost of living from the state of California to the state of Idaho in the Treasure Valley area. Okay, so the number one thing I want to start with is something that everybody always starts with, and that's electricity. Coming from some place like California, they can't even keep the lights on half the time. So let's get into that separately. But if you have the lights on and they didn't shut your power off because of rolling brownouts and the wind was blowing too hard and all that kind of stuff, if you are in the state of California, you know how expensive electricity is, whether you're in Southern California, whether you're in the Central Valley area, whether you're in Northern California. It's expensive no matter where you are. Now, I lived in San Diego for about 20 years before I moved out of San Diego and into Riverside County, into the Temecula Valley area. And then so from there, I lived there for 3 years, and then I moved out to Idaho. So I can kind of tell you from my own personal experience the price of SDG&E, which is San Diego Gas and Electric, and then also Southern California Edison, which is a very large footprint. That's what I had in the Temecula area. So now that I'm in the Idaho area, we have Idaho Power. So the difference between San Diego and Idaho is not just the cost of the electricity, but it's how they measure the electricity. So I'll give you an example. So in San Diego and in the Edison Temecula area, you have off-peak and on-peak. So on-peak used to be very simple. It was if you use power during the day, you're going to get a higher rate, and at nighttime, you would wait to do your heavy lifting as far as electricity usage in the evening time, and that would basically be after the sun went down, basically. Then they promoted the solar thing, and the solar thing became very popular. And now they've changed it because it wasn't benefiting them. So what they did was they took the on-peak time and made the on-peak time when the sun wasn't shining so that you couldn't use your solar panels to generate the electricity. Very sneaky and very profitable. These people are out to make money. They're not out to save the environment. So when you're comparing the kilowatts and you're looking at it, it varies dramatically from maybe 13 cents a kilowatt, which is the best case scenario, all the way up to like 35, 40 cents a kilowatt for on peak. And so what we have here in Idaho, we have 8 cents a kilowatt, period. 8 cents a kilowatt, no matter if it's at midnight, whether it's at noon, whether it's at 2 in the afternoon, whether it's on a holiday, whether your kids are out of school or not, doesn't matter. None of that stuff affects anything. So we have a very cut and dry system for determining how much your power costs. So being that it's about 8 cents a kilowatt, in the summer, in my house running the AC a lot because it's about 100 degrees out every day, I'm looking at about $150 a month for electricity. When I was in the Temecula area, the electricity bill was about $250 to $350. The reason why there's a spread is because as I was leaving the state, the rate went up tremendously. So it's probably going to be closer to like the $350 range in the summertime if I was still there. And in the wintertime, it was probably about $80 to $110 a month for the winter. And then the gas, so the gas in Idaho is separate. So we have gas. So in the summertime, I'm running about $12, $13 a month when I'm not running the heater. And then in the wintertime, because it gets a little colder here than it does in California, I'm running the heater a lot more. I actually have a garage heater, which heats the garage. If I'm running all of those things, I'm at about $100 a month for gas, and that's keeping the house in a really comfortable, like 70 degrees or so. So that's contrasting California versus Idaho as far as the power and gas goes. Now, if we're looking at something like registration, so if we're looking at vehicle registration, I'll give you one of my vehicles as an example. So I have a 2019 Dodge Ram 2500 diesel. In California, it was about $950 to register it. And it goes down a little bit over the time. I only had it for a couple of years in California. When I left, I think I was pushing just up in the higher 800s for the yearly. So when I moved here, I got it registered. Every year, it's about $125 for the year to register that same exact vehicle here. And then our Honda Accord, just to give another example, we have a 2015 Honda Accord, 4-cylinder, and that one went for about $350 or so in California for the year. And here we have 2 years for $125, $130, somewhere in that range for 2 years. It's about 60 something bucks per year. So that is a massive difference just in those two. The water here in Star, and I'm only speaking about Star specifically because it does change depending on what city you live in. In Star, we have a flat rate, which was really shocking to me. I thought they were making a mistake on my water bill at first because it's exactly the same every month to the penny. So I'm paying about $67 per month for water, and there is no limit on the water. Not that we're wasting water, but there's no meter being driven or something like that. So the water bill is always the same every single month. You don't have to worry about the length of showers and turning your water off and all that stuff. You don't get threatening letters like you do in California. We also, in Idaho, we have something called irrigation water, if you're not familiar with that. So being that this is a farm area, there's water that comes from the mountains, gets filtered through aqueducts and little streams, and gets sent to the farm areas, and then you actually pump that water out, and they pump it into the irrigation areas, and then all of the homes that have grass and plants and gardens and all that stuff can use that water to water their property, and that water is free. That water does not cost anything per month. That's actually kind of part of your HOA. If you have an HOA, you're paying money for them to supply the pump and to maintain the pump and all that stuff and to get the water to your property. So in theory, it doesn't really cost you anything extra to have that irrigation water. Okay, so another one is homeowners insurance. So homeowners insurance does vary a little bit depending, especially if you're in Southern California. I know there's hot spots that have a lot of potential fire damage that could occur. It's a high fire area, canyons and whatnot. But in general, both of the homes that I had in the Southern California area had about $150 a month for homeowners insurance. And it was about a $500,000 to $600,000 rebuild cost as far as the insurance goes. So bringing something like that into Star, Idaho, having similar coverages in Star, Idaho, I was looking at about $45 a month for insurance. Okay, so another one that I wanted to talk about is trash. So I think the trash is probably going to be really similar. You would know what you pay. So I pay here in Idaho, we pay about $25 a month, and they do it in 3-month sections. So it's about 70 something dollars every 3 months they send you a bill for. And that includes the recycling and it includes the trash. So that just gives you perspective on that end. You kind of know what you pay, so you can kind of compare that on your own. And then the last bill that I pretty much have that's a utility is going to be internet and phone and stuff like that. And that's going to be pretty much on par for what I experienced in Southern California. We pay about $60 a month and we get about 900 and something megabytes per second, that kind of thing. So, okay, and the final thing that I wanted to discuss as far as the difference in cost of living between the Southern California, like San Diego, for instance, and Idaho is going to be the property tax rate. So the property tax rate varies in San Diego specifically depending on what city you're in. Every city is a little bit different, but we're going to say it averages out to be just over 1%. So about 1.1% is about the average. Some are a little higher, some are a little bit lower. So where I live in Star, Idaho, and I think in Ada County in general, it's about 0.76%. And so we also have a homestead credit. So what that is basically is if you apply for this credit, you get $125,000 knocked off the value of your home when they're assessing the value for the taxable amount. So for instance, if your house is worth $500,000, it's what they're assessing it at, they're going to take $125,000 off that amount, and they're only going to tax you on $375,000. All of these things add up. So these are just things to take into consideration when you're moving from your area. You can take your values, like say you don't live in Southern California or California in general, you're coming from say Washington or something like that. You can look up your values and kind of contrast them to mine, and that'll give you kind of an idea of what it would be like if you moved to the Treasure Valley area from whatever state you were coming from. So hopefully this information was educational for you, and hopefully you learned something. If you could like and subscribe, that helps us out. please do so. And anyways, we'll see you on the next video. And thanks for joining us. Have a great day and good luck in your real estate endeavors. Thanks.